There are a lot of things to praise and talk about regarding Frieren Beyond Journey's End, but one that's been the most interesting to me throughout the series so far is just how it uses and handles the theme of time, often in a more interesting and different way than you often see in fantasy stories. Let's take a closer look. No official sponsor this week, but this video is brought to you by my upcoming original manga, Amaranth Angels. Cute anime girls, starfighters, and exciting space battles. Written by a Girls on Panzer fan for other Girls on Panzer fans, and fans of military moe and cute anime girls in general. The Kickstarter already funded, but the Second Chance campaign on Indiegogo is live now, so if you missed out, there'll be another chance to get in on the action. Jump in while you can to secure your copies of the 200-page manga itself, along with other rewards like acrylic standees. Now, onto the video. Frieren Beyond Journey's End does just about everything right. There's a reason it's one of the most popular ongoing anime right now. And based on that, I'm sure there'll be another season before long. And of course, I've only heard good things about where the manga goes from readers, though I'm avoiding spoilers myself. Today, though, I want to talk a bit about something that Frieren, the show that is, handles really well, and in a more interesting way than the vast majority of fantasy series, whether anime or western. That being how it shows the passage of time, and the changes, or lack thereof, that come along with it, and how it approaches that as a major theme of the story, and as part of the story's world. As is my way, here's a quick spoiler warning if you aren't caught up on the show. There's a real reason everyone's talking about it, and it's absolutely as good as you've heard it is. So go watch now. Now, obviously, Frieren is far from the first fantasy story to feature elements relating to the passage of time and the changes to the world. But what does make it special, in my opinion, is the extent to which the passage of time is a central, key theme, shown to us mainly through the eyes of the central character, who is around for just about all of it, or at least a huge chunk of it. And of course, the impact all that has on Frieren herself, as well as the world and story on a larger scale. While many fantasy stories and worlds feature things like overgrown statues, ruins, and unique ancient places, having a main character who was there when many of them were made, or who even just explored them a long time ago, adds a lot to the sense of the world feeling lived in and alive, not just simply pieces of scenery or locations for things to happen in. It also makes the really, really ancient things all the more special. Considering Frieren is well over 1,000 years old, anything old enough to have preceded her, whether another character, a ruin, or something else, has to be really old, and so it feels all the more special and interesting for it. Seri wouldn't be nearly as intriguing as she is if we didn't know that she was already pretty old back when Frieren was still a novice mage. And the dungeon they're exploring in the final arc of the season wouldn't be nearly as interesting if we didn't know it had been a ruin for even as long as Frieren remembered, at least if I'm remembering correctly. Like I mentioned above, it just adds more impact to the age of the world. Every time we're shown something that makes our ageless elf seem young in comparison. Another thing in particular that the show does well, which you don't often see in fantasy of any kind, is, well, forward progression of things as time goes on. In many, if not most, fantasy stories, the past is treated almost like lost technology. Ancient beings, spells, or other things so often are shown to be more powerful than magic at the present time, for example. And while this sort of thing can be well utilized to add some depth and intrigue to a setting, it is also contrary to how things tend to work in reality. What I mean is, compare technology in our world to magic in a fantasy setting, since we don't have magic here, at least as far as we know. Generally speaking, as time goes on, technology becomes more and more advanced. Weapons become more powerful, newer tactics supplant the old, and newer tech can do things once thought impossible. So often in fantasy, as I mentioned earlier, it's the ancient stuff that's considered the most powerful, almost like the setting was a post-apocalypse where a lot of knowledge was lost. It doesn't work that way in Frieren, however. Throughout the show, there have been multiple examples showing the progression of things in a natural-feeling way. One of the obvious ones is shown through the early battle with Qual. It's such a beautiful subversion of the fantasy trope of something ancient being inherently better, but done in a very satisfying way that everyone loved. Qual was peak in his time, so much so that Frieren then had to seal him instead of kill him. And his power was largely due to the killing magic he developed, Zoltrak. But since it's been so long now, as Frieren explains to him, humanity was able to study it, learn to use it, and defend against it, making it now just an average offensive spell. Because magic here is treated like any other field of study, people naturally always try to innovate and make improvements on old tactics and concepts. So it's just a very fun, fresh approach to magical development that allows for more creativity and also more fun mage fights. Frieren's personal hobby / side quest of gathering grimoires also fits into this paradigm of magic just being another field of study. Almost all of these grimoires don't contain powerful ancient magic, as would be the case in most stories. They're more like finding a little paper with grandma's old cookie recipe inside a drawer one day, Sure, it's ancient and has its uses, perhaps doing something in a better way than most can now, but again, it's not really anything game-breaking or groundbreaking, at least not usually. Of course, another really neat way of utilizing the theme of time passing is seeing Frieren return to places she visited with the rest of the hero party years earlier. People who were kids then are now old, statues that Frieren saw made herself are overgrown, people only vaguely know who someone like Himmler was. Things that might only be set dressing in another story here illustrate just where Frieren has come from, what she's experienced, and lost, and just overall makes them a part of the story itself rather than just scenery. This works so well because, as I briefly touched on already, our principal character was there for so much of that. So we're able to get her flashbacks and see through her point of view all of these changes, when in other stories we're shown all these ruins or ancient beings through the eyes of younger characters, it's nowhere near as impactful. There, it's more just history. Here, it's part of Frieren's life. And I don't think much other fantasy that even includes long-lived characters achieves this sort of connection with the past, since Frieren Beyond Journey's End makes this a major theme of the show. So much of what she's doing in the show is, in a way, retracing the steps of her past, the past adventure that is, trying to do it right this time, and make up for past mistakes regarding her attitude toward less long-lived companions. So, due to Frieren's age and her view of the passage of time, we get to see how that impacts and changes her. Seeing Fern grow from a young child into an almost adult too adds a lot to the journey and atmosphere. Plus, it serves as a major reminder of just how much time has passed since the show began. On the other hand, of course, just like on our world, some things don't change with time, or at least don't change that much. Some of Frieren's bad habits, and her tendency to always fall for mimic traps, for example. She might be old and wise, but she still hasn't grown out of some of these sillier traits from her younger days. Demons also are the same in many respects, namely their goals, though they have obviously evolved some newer tactics to try and achieve them. Most important, though, is that the show integrates the theme of time's passage very well. The melancholy aspects of missed opportunities and old times are present, but not forced to the forefront constantly. So it becomes the theme, a major theme of the show, but it doesn't overpower the other important aspects, such as the more fun, light, slice-of-lifey stuff with Stark, Fern, and the others, and just a general chill atmosphere of fun adventure. This ability to include deeper themes like this, while still maintaining a more upbeat tone most of the time, prevents the focus on time on the past from feeling like a gimmick. And it keeps it a fun, positive fantasy adventure of characters we like and want to see grow and succeed. I, for one, can't wait to see where it goes next, and how Frieren Beyond Journey's End continues to utilize this theme to enhance the other aspects of the story. If you enjoyed this video and like to support me and what I do here, my books and light novels are all available on Amazon. And you can get early access to videos, sneak peeks and updates on my upcoming manga and other projects by subscribing over on Patreon. Plus, don't forget, the second chance campaign for my original manga, Amaranth Angels, is still ongoing over on Indiegogo. I've also just recently opened up channel memberships here, and subscribing to that will get you access to planned monthly watch-along streams, the first of which will probably be rewatching some of Girls on Panzer. And as always, if you have any thoughts on this video or there's anything Frieren related you'd like me to talk about, definitely share them in the comment section below. I'd love to hear them, and while I might not get to respond to every comment, at least not in a timely manner, I can guarantee that I read each of them. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any future uploads. That's all for now, so until next time.